Alright, so here we are with my current desktop build. Just got in my power supply. So we will be installing this into the case. But what I'm going to be also doing is rerouting some of the wires to kind of clean this up a little bit so that there's not so many wires in the way of the airflow in the case to help keep the components cool. At this point I've gotten my motherboard installed. Also have the CPU and CPU cooler installed, as well as my video card. So I'm going to be taking this actually out, taking the video card out, taking the motherboard out, so that I can route some of the wires behind the motherboard. So let's go ahead and start working on that. Start by taking out the video card. Now what we need to do is go ahead and get the motherboard loosened. Okay, now we got the motherboard loose, I'm going to pull out some of these other wires, just so we can get better access to the motherboard. Okay, now that we can see into the motherboard, there's a nice little hole they give you back there where we can route some of our wires up through there, as well as we'll do some more routing through some of the available slots on the side. So now I'm going to go ahead and mount in the power supply. Alright, now we have the power supply secured in the bottom of the case. This particular power supply mounts on the, or this particular case has the power supply mount on the bottom, and on the bottom of the power supply, down here underneath the case, is actually the fan. Now one thing that's really nice about this kind of design is normally in a build you had your power supply at the top and the fan at the bottom. So the fan for the power supply was pulling in all the hot air from the case and not really cooling the power supply as good as it could. So one advantage to mounting it down here with the fan on the bottom is it's actually pulling cool air from the bottom of the case and putting it right out the back and leaving the cooling of the rest of the components up to the case fans. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and find the best way to route these cables. The primary one that I am concerned with is going to be the power for the CPU. So we're going to find that here in these wires. There we go. So this is it right here. So I'm going to actually sit this down, flush like that, and then I'm actually going to mount the motherboard on top of that. Make sure none of these other wires can be routed here. So for instance, I'm going to take this fan cable here, and route that behind. As well as, if I can find it here, this fan. Route that behind. These cables will all come out on the back. So we got those two. These are all part of the fan controller. Best thing to do is going to be to go ahead and plug this in. That way we make sure we don't run out of mounting room. So I'm going to pull that around and mount it into place. Sure we get all these slid in here properly. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a few of the screws until I make sure that we're not pinching any wires or anything. I'll go ahead and get that mounted in. And let's take a look at the back of the case. Now, here in the back of the case, you can see the wire we just routed, as well as some of the fan wires. And what we'll be able to do is plug these back in. So for instance, let's find the wiring. Fan 1 is going to be the top fan, which is this one. And we're going to make fan 2 the rear fan case, rear fan. Alright, and then when we put on the back cover, all this wiring will be hidden. Now, one thing that I will say here is I don't necessarily want this wire touching this metal backing. This will get hot as the processor heats up. So what I'm going to do is back here in the front, let's see if I can put in a couple screws to hold it in and make a few adjustments. Alright, I had a little bit of issue getting the cable routed, but now I have it slid over just a little bit so it fits nicely with the case. And I'm going to go ahead and now finish securing down the motherboard. Okay, now begins the tedious process of getting everything plugged in and getting everything routed so that it looks clean. I will go ahead and mount or attach the main power supply to the motherboard. Go ahead and get that unraveled. Get that attached. Okay. So now I just got to do some routing behind the case with the fans. Get the hard drive and all that plugged in. Alright, so I have all the wiring rerouted. Power supply is mounted there in the bottom. All the cabling is routed behind the case, with the exception of the one wire going up behind the motherboard, plugging in to power the processor. You have the main motherboard plug, which I also have routing back behind. And then you have the power plugs for SATA plugs for the hard drive. And then the case wiring, have that tie wrapped. And then routes to the bottom of the motherboard. So overall, pretty clean. Definitely up here, very clean where you need a lot of good airflow. This won't matter too much because the only thing down here is the power supply. Like I said, it's getting cooled by a fan underneath of it. So all pretty clean. Good airflow there for the case fans. Now, although that all looks clean, there is still this problem of what to do with all of these. So I'm going to try to tuck them all in there. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. And then we'll turn it on and make sure it all works. Alright, so I have all the case wiring back behind here. All fit actually pretty nicely in that little compartment there. So got all of the two main case fans running through the back. All real clean in there. I have the front case on. And we'll go ahead and put the back case on. There we go. And we'll just power it on and it'll be good to go. So that's it. That was the upgrading of my desktop. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and get it turned on, plug it in, and take some footage with the lights off to show you all the lights on it. So there's the completed case. We have the LED for power, right below that for hard drive activity. These lights here are for the fan controller. So I have fan 1 set up as the main exhaust fan. You can probably hear that pick up. Second one is the rear case fan. 3 and 4 are these front fans. You'll see that they get brighter. See, the bottom one's now brighter. And I'm going to turn up number 4. That goes ahead and gets brighter. And number 5 is the side case fan, which you probably can't see, but it's back there on the side. We can kick that up too. So that is with all fans on full power. And there's quite a bit of airflow coming out the top as well as the back of the unit, which is good. So it'll bring in cold air from here. There's a filter on the front of the case to filter out all the dust, and then the exhaust we have blowing out hot air up here up top, and then also the main fan case, the main case fan on the back. Let's go ahead and do some with the lights off. It has a nice glow. You can probably hear how loud these fans are. I'll get up close so you can hear them. But what's great is if at night, or when I'm not needing a lot of cooling power, we can turn these all down. And you can probably begin to hear the difference, how much quieter it is. Still a little bit of noise, which is some of these fans are just older fans, or cheaper fans. They just don't get as, aren't as quiet. But boy, those LEDs are bright. They actually light up the whole room, which is pretty cool. Go ahead and turn up the green ones. And there you have it.